Hello, dear listeners. Welcome back to another episode of Life and Living, where we dive deep into the little quirks and complexities of life. I'm Shubhra, and today we're tackling a topic that might hit close to home for some of you: dealing with and overcoming the victim mindset. It's going to be a bit of a roller coaster, but I promise we'll come out the other side with a whole lot more clarity and maybe even a few laughs along the way. So, what exactly is a victim mindset? Picture this: you're at a party, and there's that one person who seems to have a story for every occasion, but not the good kind. Their stories are always about how the world is against them, how nothing ever goes right, and how everyone else is to blame. Sound familiar? That's the essence of a victim mindset. It's a mental state where someone believes they're constantly being wronged or hurt by others, often feeling powerless to change their circumstances. Now, you might be wondering, how does one get a victim mindset? It's not like anyone wakes up one day and says, "Today, I choose to see myself as the eternal victim." No, it's more of a gradual process. It often starts with genuine experiences of hardship or unfairness. Over time, if not dealt with, these experiences can become the lens through which someone views the world. And let's not forget the role of a dear old friend, parenting. You know, those lovely people who taught us how to tie our shoes, say please and thank you, and sometimes unintentionally, how to see the world as a mean, unforgiving place. Now let's talk about recognizing this mindset in ourselves. Because let's be honest, it's always easier to spot it in others. But self-awareness is the key to change. Here's a little exercise. Think about the last time something didn't go your way. Did you immediately start thinking about how unfair it was? Or maybe you blamed someone else entirely. If so, you might be dealing with a bit of that victim mentality. Let's say you didn't get that promotion at work. Do you find yourself thinking, "Of course they didn't pick me, they always overlook me"? Or do you consider what you could do differently next time? It's in these moments that our mindset is revealed. A quote by Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and a psychiatrist, perfectly sums this up. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Powerful, right? It's about taking back the reins and understanding that while we can't control everything, we can definitely control how we respond. So, how do we overcome this mindset and step into a more empowered way of thinking? The number one thing is self-awareness. Start by catching yourself in those moments of negative thinking. Ask yourself, am I playing the victim here? If the answer is yes, gently remind yourself that you have the power to change your response. Number two, accountability. Take responsibility for your actions and reactions. This doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything, but acknowledging where you have control. And lastly, reframing. Begin to reframe situations. Instead of thinking, "This always happens to me," try thinking, "What can I learn from this?" Or, "How can I turn this around?" Do you remember the movie The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith? It's a perfect example. Despite facing immense hardships, the protagonist Chris Gardner, he refuses to see himself as a victim. He keeps pushing forward, believing that he can change his circumstances. And he does. It's all about the mindset. Now let's talk about how we can recognize and deal with toxic behavior of people who are suffering from victim mindset. It's not just about recognizing the victim mindset in ourselves. Sometimes we need to identify it in others, especially those who might use it to manipulate or control us. People with a strong victim mindset can sometimes drag others into their negativity. They might use guilt or play on your sympathy to get what they want. It is very important to recognize when this is happening and set boundaries. Picture this. Your friend calls you for the 10th time this week, lamenting about how the universe is against them. You listen patiently, but deep down, you know they've refused every piece of advice you've given them. That's your cue to gently, but firmly, set some boundaries. Remember, helping someone doesn't mean letting them drag you down with them. Finally, let's talk about parenting. Because if we want to stop the cycle of victimhood, it often starts with how we raise our children. Encouraging independence, resilience, and accountability in children can help them grow up with an empowered mindset. Instead of rescuing them from every failure, let them experience the consequences of their actions and guide them through finding solutions. I'll give you an example. You can maybe this time skip telling them that life isn't fair every time they don't get their way, unless you want them to grow up thinking that's a permanent state of affairs. Now, let me leave you with a few key takeaways from today's episode. Number 1. Understand the victim mindset. It's a state where one feels powerless and believes others or circumstances are always to blame. This mindset often develops from real hardships but gets amplified over time. Number 2. Be self-aware. Pay attention to how you react to life's challenges. Are you taking accountability or blaming the world? Number 3. Overcome the mindset. Shift your thinking. Reframe situations to focus on what you can control, learn, and change. Number 4. Set boundaries with others. Be aware of those who may use the victim mindset to manipulate or control. It's okay to set limits and not get sucked into their negativity. Number 5. Parenting matters. Encourage independence and resilience in children. Let them learn from their experiences and be the example of strength they need. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Life and Living with Shubhra. I hope this episode has given you some food for thought and maybe a few laughs along the way. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with someone who might need a little nudge out of that victim mindset. Until next time, stay strong, stay kind, and most importantly, stay true to yourself. Remember, you're not alone. We are in this journey together and we will figure it out one step at a time. Here's to life, here's to living, here's to us.